Hello and welcome to the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Tuesday, August 31st. Wow. In this episode, United get lucky again. Arsenal are apathetic against City, and Chelsea are awesome at Anfield. But Mike, Spurs are top of the league. 1-0 to the Tottenham. No? What do you got, Mike?
I've got it. I'm pretty excited about how the third win in a row, 1-0, like you said. Nuno was great to say, listen, no, it's August 31st. Stop it with that, right? Like he shot that shit down right off the jump in his press conference. But it does feel awfully good for the first time in not just the Premier League history, in English top flight history, for Tottenham Hotspur to be top of the table and Arsenal Football Club to be bottom of the table. Relegation fodder, shall we say. That's the thing that I'm focusing on more. I think that's much more of the story.
Schadenfreude's the best.
Oh, isn't it? And the way that I've looked at this is through the lens of the very, very highly anticipated All or Nothing Amazon behind the scenes all expose on what the hell has been going on.
How fucking lucky did they get? How lucky are they? They can't hide it.
No. What, Amazon?
Yeah.
No, that was brilliant. That was a stroke of genius because they were like, they're going to fire Arteta and we're going to figure out when and we're going to be there. I mean, look, they fell ass backwards into Spurs when they did it because they got rid of Pochettino and
Mourinho showed up, which they cut out of the whole show, by the way. They're just like, Pochettino, oh yeah, forget it, bye.
It was the first episode. And then they were like, they had like the changing of the guard. And believe me,
it was weird.
It was a lot. Speaking of Mourinho.
It was a big giant Levy jerk-off show. He seemed like
big time.
Anyway.
Speaking of Jose Mourinho, real quick, our Serie A update before we really get running here. Salernitana had their first home game in Serie A since 1999, and they faced
1999. Oh, that's
nice. I'm learning more and more about them. They were in the top flight twice before this. Anyway, they hosted Jose Mourinho's Roma, featuring old friend Tammy Abraham, who scored a great goal. Yeah, it was 0-0 at half. I had some hope. It got ugly in the second half, and it went 4-0 Roma. I am very worried for my Salernos.
That's okay.
That's not going to go great for them this year. So there's going to be a lot of pain.
One big thing that happened in last week's episode, I was ready for Cristiano Ronaldo to be in a blue.
Don the Manchester City Sky Blue.
We had it all. I had the trolling. I was like, you signed Sancho, we signed Cristiano. And he apparently went to United instead. Literally was like a 6-hour turnaround from he is going to United. Like, if there's I literally got retweeted by Old Takes Exposed and got like almost 250,000 people saw my bad art. And he jumped ship. And I felt used like a swinging door in a boys' camp. Like, I mean, just in and out, slammed back and forth like a hurricane in fucking Louisiana getting blown around that doesn't get flown off. It was amazing how quickly that turned around. But we have him. Cristiano Ronaldo is going to don the 7 shirt for
Is he wearing 7, by the way?
There's some
Cavani needs to get it to him
about whether he can get it. No,
he needs
to
register
as a number. You may not be able to change it if the player already appeared. There is some. They have,
I think there's actually rules on that because of. I think it goes back to supporters who purchased the jersey. I think that actually is the origin of that rule. Yeah, because
that's
when I purchased
a refund or something like that.
Yeah, when I purchased a Kane 18. His last year of wearing 18. So from what I understood, when the first time I saw them at the MLS All-Star game in Denver, this is in July. So they submit the squad numbers and they gave him number 10. And I was like, what the fuck? This is the first jersey I ever bought. Long story short, I got in touch with them. They actually hooked me up with a signed Harry Kane. I sent them the 18. He signed it. And they sent me a number 10, which was super fucking cool. I framed it. It was awesome. Anyway, so that may be the reason why there. But let's talk about, first of all, welcome to transfer deadline day. We kind of buried the lead there. But
yeah, we're not really following along there.
But there's going to be.
I followed along during the day, but not too much after.
There's going to be 1 or 2 big shoes to drop still, I think.
But I think the days of the purple dildos are over. right? That's the famous thing is kids would stand around the Sky Sports thing when Sky made it into a big deal. And famously, before it got to be a big deal, they're live, they're outside the grounds following cars and helicopters. And there's a kid with a purple dildo, like sticking it into the guy's ear on live television. An amazing moment in transfer history. But that never happens. That they're very rare that there are things guys sneaking around.
But let's talk about the how quick and crazy, as you mentioned, these things can kind of unfold. We record twice a week, right? We record twice. On Tuesdays and on Fridays. And
Thursday night for Friday morning. Yeah.
Whatever. The secret's out of the bag now. And they know. And so the weird thing is that we're pretty on top of our shit. And the funny thing was that last Thursday, I suppose, at all of the Cristiano stuff.
It was all city. It was over. It was done.
It was done.
Yes.
And you and I talked a lot on Friday and over the weekend, and it was about Jorge Mendes, his agent, super agent. He's like if Drew Rosenhaus and Scott Boras had a kid. Like
and
this is how
team.
and owned a team essentially, right? So like this guy is next level manipulative. And so what he did was he knew that Cristiano wanted out of Juve. We covered that on Thursday. He basically, I mean, look, Manchester United did not need him.
Nope.
They signed Jadon Sancho. They have all of the same attacking talent. You could say the same thing about United getting a player like Ronaldo, the same way that City got a player like Grealish. Totally unnecessary, especially because Mason Greenwood right now, and we'll talk about him even more in a little bit, I think he's leading the league in goals, but he is white hot. He's incredible. He's in great form. And so the last thing you need is to bring in a striker to sit his ass on the bench. But you have this player who is, would you say he's bigger than Cantona for United?
Are you ready for how big Cristiano is? Cristiano Ronaldo has more Instagram followers than the entire Premier League teams combined.
No, I know, but like in United lore,
for United, no, he's not bigger. He's not. No one's bigger than Cantona. Cantona is unassailable and untouchable. He's the reason they won their first title. So,
sure.
But in terms of fame, he is up there. He is as important. He represents modern United.
Well, he
represents the big super United as a super club. As the Premier League is ascending, this is 2003 to 2010 and 11. They win the Champions League. They lose to Barcelona. He's the beautiful sort of matinee idol for modern football. He is a television creation. Not only that, he's fucking incredible, but he is all that, right? Like he's coming into a brand that is already huge, and they create a superstar. Man United creates Ronaldo. And he obliges by being amazing. Right.
Mm-hmm. But so Manchester City is sort of hoodwinked into flirting with them. And as you said, they had to be wooed. They're like, we don't need 36-year-old Ronaldo. Why? I mean, why?
And in fact, there's a lot of argument that they're going to be better off without him. So in a weird way.
It sounds like a pissed off ex-girlfriend, but I hear it. I understand. But nonetheless, you've got City kind of sniffing around, and all that needed to happen was Ed Woodward to hear that, right? And he was like, "Oh shit, yeah, I can't let this happen."
The story is this, right? So CR7, it's known in football, wants to get out. Ronaldo wants to get out. He's trying everywhere. They try PSG. It's literally like the Three Bears. They knock on a door. Can I come in? No, you can't. They knock on Real's door. No, you can't, because literally Ancelotti has to tweet, I do not want him. We have not contacted him. He's a legend. I love him. Knock. They knock on City's door. They're like, no, we're all about Kane. They come back tomorrow. They look around. They have no toys to play with. Kane falls through. Knock. Can we come in? Yes, you can come in.
Yeah.
So,
but wipe your feet.
Wipe your feet. Mendes is doing this. He's talking. He's schmoozing. He's doing the whole thing. And he literally sends as he's there, he's like, okay. Because Ronaldo had wanted to go back to United the whole time. And they were like, no, it's not time. The second it got close, United's veterans, leadership, the people that control the culture, the Nevilles, the Fergusons, the Patrice Evra, the sort of visible, the top level people, Ferdinand, they go nuts, go into full gear, and turn the screws on Ronaldo. And I'm like, you cannot go to City because you don't understand this.
Do you think they turn the screws on Ronaldo, or do you think they turn the screws on United?
Both. They turn the screws on United to not let it happen.
Right. That's where
Ronaldo
I was going
would have gone. He would have gone to City.
I agree.
I don't think he cared that much.
I agree.
But I think there's a soft power that happens. And I have never seen Woodward move so fast as to get this signing done. It happened in 12 hours. This is a team that took 6 months to fucking sign Slabhead. Like, they panicked and made a panic buy for the thing they did not need, which was another player to take up the space that Cavani takes. What do they need him for? They don't need him. Now,
and you could make the same argument as City.
They already gained $250 billion in value on the stock market. So I get it. Football wise, it doesn't make a difference. And the problem is now the player that they did need, Camavinga, who's 18 years old, just signed with Real. And Real's like, we're not going to get Mbappe. We'll just get actual players we need to win games.
And let's go into that for a second.
Yeah.
So the latest and greatest on Mbappe, which by the way will change by the time you're listening to this episode, if we know have learned anything from last week, is that Real Madrid, and to back up, Real Madrid went up to 170 million with about 10 million euros in add-ons. So roughly a total of 180 million for a player who has 1 year left on his contract. Now, there's nobody's here is denying that Mbappe is one of the greatest players in the world, one of the most dynamic players in Europe, all that. But my goodness, what we said, you spelled domino wrong. One of the things we were talking about on Thursday was, man, you get to play with Lionel Messi. You get to be on one of the most dominant super teams in Europe. You're going to kick the shit out of the French league. Why wouldn't you just stay for another year and take a significant chunk of that 160, 170 million and take it as a signing bonus, right? One of the things about Ronaldo signing with United is that, like, it was only a $15 million fee, which makes sense. I mean, he's 36, whatever. And he was sort of, there wasn't a lot of negotiating power, but you're going to pay him 30 million over the course of the year, right? Mm-hmm. So at least. So that's kind of the interesting thing where, from Mbappe's point of view, I'm confused by his tactics. But we fast forward to the latest and greatest. He was basically out the door on Friday and Saturday. I believe on Sunday, Pochettino starts him, and he scores a brace. And now the talks have sort of stalled, right? So it's weird how it's weird you can be so dead set on this and then just kind of fall back.
I think half of it's bullshit, half of it's true. This is the problem, right? It's all bullshit until something happens, right? Like Ronaldo, we out of the blue, basically he goes to United. I think it's a mistake. I'm happy, I'm glad, I'm sad. I've been convinced now that it's a bad idea. But City played on and now have 2 back-to-back games of 5-0 against Norwich and now Arsenal, who we have to talk about. I mean, Arsenal are in last place. They haven't scored a goal. They're -9.
Well, I said this on the show on Thursday. If Arsenal do not score against City, they will have to choose their August Premier League goal of the month from the training ground, and that's exactly what happened. They did not score a goal in the month of August.
The doors blown off them. They were already down 2 when Xhaka got sent off, and it's again, it's the manner. It's like this is like no shots on target, 18% possession, which is the lowest it's ever been since Opta started taking stats. And I don't know. I mean, I understand weakness in a team, and I get it, but like, there's no adaptation. It's just like, we're going to play City the way we play them. And one of the things I think about with Pep, with City as well, and some of the dealings and some of the things that happen with Arsenal and certain teams, is just like, there's this Cruyffian Barcelona arrogance that we talked about last week, where it's just like, I am ideologically opposed to preventing damage to my team. And that's why Real and Barcelona in the heady years of maybe 6, 7, 10 years ago would beat teams 7-0, because they just don't believe in Spain in being pragmatic and going, you know what? we're going 4-4-2, and anything that comes in the box, we're going to hoof it, we'll elbow you in the face, and play for set pieces. It doesn't exist in their vocabulary. And I think Arteta is just stubborn. He's just like, no, we're playing. And at this point, I think the players are like, dude, we're not, they know. They're like, we're not good enough. What are we doing? Right? When you watch them, I feel bad for them. They know they're not good enough. Right? And
but there's no situational guile.
To be defensive.
Right. There's no situational guile. It's not like
if you play against what the coach tells you, you don't play.
Yeah. And that's kind of the interesting thing. Like you find there's ebbs and flows in this sport. Almost basketball has a good argument, similarly.
But they call timeouts all the time.
But they call timeouts and they stop and there's fouls and there's set plays. But the set plays, there's literally practiced set plays, right? It's not Eric Dyer taking a free kick from 30 yards and going, fuck it, let's hope for the best. I just, when it's not so much the plays from farther out, it's the plays that are within 30 yards. And if you don't have a player who can strike the ball and threaten to put it in, not just in the net, in the corner of the net, make it something that literally, it's almost like I forget which game I was watching this weekend. It was probably Tottenham, but like, it's almost like the David Beckhams of the world ruined tactical set pieces forever because everybody goes, oh, we want to do that because it's beautiful. Yeah, but you can't.
Yeah, you can't. You don't know how.
So I don't understand why you wouldn't have a guy run off the left. Like when you see a team do that and run like a short play, like when there's a short corner, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, one of the most famous ones ever, right? Like the Liverpool 3-3 goal against Barcelona, the Trent Alexander-Arnold. Well, it was Origi scores the goal, right? Like they were like, holy shit, they caught Barcelona sleeping. Yeah. Why wouldn't you try to do it's not even catching them sleeping. It's just outsmarting them, right? Yeah. Like it's almost as if American sports is chess and this is checkers in some respect, right? Because
it's much more individual. There's no stoppages. You can't really coach. There's a lot going on. But City, I mean, they score on a header where no one's checking him. Ilkay Gundogan. They leave. They overlap. They have a 2-on-1 on one side of the field. Gabriel Jesus is all of a sudden the best right winger in the league. Then Torres gets in a box on a cheesy cross that maybe Laporte punched Chambers in the face, but I don't think he would have got it anyway. Then Rodri scores from outside the box where no one comes out to him. He side foots it. I mean, it's not even hammered, and then Torres scores again, and City get their 4. But it was pathetic, and there's really almost not much to say about the game itself. Like, it's ho-hum, City scored 5 goals, but it's just Arsenal were so bad. I mean, there were all sorts of stats, like Riyad Mahrez had more touches than all of Arsenal and only played 30 minutes. Like things like that just came up that you're just like, wow, this is fucking brutal. I mean, it's some of the worst. Yeah, Colin Chambers led the team in touches with 39, and Kyle Walker played 45 minutes and had 41.
Yeah.
And he's a right back. Right. So there's just like, it's just a pathetic.
Well, and Callum Chambers having the most touches for Arsenal is the stat right there. Right. Like,
right. It's just a really sad kind of like Arsenal are in bad shape. And I guess, we probably have to talk like, what is the line for Arsenal? When does it happen? Like, they've put in 130 million. Obviously they had a plan for the season. I like them. I had them in 6th. I feel insane now, but they literally had the 3rd best defense in the league. And I figured that Kane would have left Spurs. And I figured that Lacazette and Aubameyang would be there. And granted, they have not had all their players. There's been none of their defenders are there.
No, and that needs to be said.
But that is the key thing. I think that, like Liverpool sort of slipping in that middle of the season, no pun intended, Steven Gerrard. When you lose your center back pairing and you lose some of the cohesion of your team, there's a fear that you can sense with Arsenal. Like when they'll play hard. The first 10 minutes of the last 3 games, they've been great. Mm-hmm. The first goal goes in and they're finished. They don't trust their defense. Yeah. They're like, oh, we're fucked. We can't. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't have been a goal. We were playing okay. And these 2 Nimrods, or the 4 of them, or the 6 of them, or whatever is in the back, they blew it again. Like, you just watch Rob Holding. He's literally looking around and doesn't know people are behind him. Like, you're like, my G, are you there's no trust. There's nothing. Like, you really can see with Arsenal how bad teams can get or how good other teams are in how inept Arsenal are in a way that they kind of just like, wow, if anything goes in the box, they literally crumble and fall apart. Like they can't handle it. Like they're mentally weak at this point. They can't do anything. So it's pretty fucking sad at this point. They're a mess. And that goes into, go ahead.
No, but so we are in our first international break of the year. We will save you from our whine, complain, moan about the international breaks starting just as the season starts to get exciting and the narrative starts to form, which it's silly.
We won't do it. Not today.
We're not going to do it. I might do it in 10 minutes. But coming out of the international break, we have a relegation 6-pointer between the mighty Arsenal and Norwich City, who are both on -9 goal difference. Norwich being up top on 19th because they scored one singular goal so far. And that's where the bar is right now. Like Arsenal, granted, have had to play Chelsea. They have had to play City. They had a tough draw with Brentford in the first home game ever, right? Like that was always going to be a tough match going in. And we said it, like Arteta really kind of biffed that one from the jump and sort of put them in a position to lose, and Brentford capitalized. But you get the feeling that they're one more bad loss away from relieving.
If they won't
Arteta.
fire him, if they lose, they have in the Premier League, they have Norwich, Burnley, Tottenham
at home, which is important to note.
They're at home. Tottenham.
It's at the Emirates, right?
Right. Tottenham, Brighton, Palace. Okay. They've got to get. Let's say they lose. Let's say they lose to Tottenham. That would be bad, but they need.
That'd be awfully bad.
3, 6. No, they need 12. If they get 9 out of these 5, they need 9.
I would say 9. 9's the number for me. And again, it's if you lose to Spurs, that's going to feel like 2 losses, and I understand.
They need 9.
They need 9
from 5.
9 from 15 total points, right? So
maybe they need more than that. Maybe they need 12. No,
they might, but look, if you win,
they're not beating Brighton away. No fucking chance.
Well, hold on.
Not my mighty Seagulls.
If you beat Norwich and Burnley, which let's be clear, if you don't, you're in trouble anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say it now. Arsenal and Spurs are going to draw, and it's going to piss me off for weeks. And because Spurs are going to be significantly better in that game.
Your team is so much better than them.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's going to happen. But nonetheless, if they get some kind of result against Spurs at home and they lose to Brighton and they beat Palace, which means win, draw, loss, win. So that's 10 points out of 15. He's
10 is
fine.
good.
He's
10
fine.
Is fine.
Because then, like the thing I'm having a great time with it. Arsenal are last.
He needs 10.
Yeah. He can only afford one more loss.
Anything under 10 is bad.
I would agree, but the thing is that flip the coin for a second. If he gets 10 points, he's right in the middle of the table. Everybody fucking relaxes. Nobody's talking about relegation. Everybody calms down for a second.
I think it's the manner though. Like, let's say they beat Norwich and then just get the shit beat out of them by Burnley, like a punch in the face.
Oh, of course, but I'm counting Burnley as a win, right? Like I'm not, and that's foolish of me.
And Burnley's bad.
Of course, but again, that's where
how the fuck they drew with Leeds. It was bullshit.
You have to beat bad teams. Brentford is not a bad team. Chelsea is a title contender. Man City are the champions. Okay, you got to beat bad teams. If you beat Norwich, you beat Burnley. If you beat Crystal Palace, that's a hell of a long way to go. And everybody relax. The bitch of it is that if they have Spurs and Brighton in the space of 6 days, and they drop both of those games, then the heat's going to turn really, really high up. Because like I said, a loss to Spurs is going to feel like a loss. It's like 2 losses because that's North London derby.
Yeah.
And then you have another tough stretch. You've got Villa, Leicester, Arsenal, or Watford, I should say. That's a win. But then you go to Anfield. So this is a really, really brutal stretch going through November. They play United too. So the question I would pose to you is not if, but frankly, when does Arteta get fired? Because I mean, there's no world where I see them in the top half of the table by December 1st. It's ugly.
No chance. No chance.
And then the funny thing is that like the festive period, I mean, somehow they've got Wolves and then City again. Doesn't make sense. But like the festive period, they have a couple of easier games, but everybody drops points in the festive period because there's just so many games.
Here's what we're hearing. What I'm hearing is, and then we have to do some business. What I'm hearing is the league is better, and Arsenal haven't necessarily gotten worse. What they got away with Wenger was just listen. Was the league they were shitty teams that would play a certain way that Arsenal's playing style could get points from. But now everyone's better. Everyone's been spending money. Like they may be worse than they were, but a lot of the teams around them are much better. Right? Like there's a middle of the league that's really strong right now. And I have to I'm gonna commend them and talk about United after this. We have to talk about our friend Joe at Attitude of Gratitude, who's helped Mike with his wedding planning in terms of saving money, and me with setting things up just to make sure that Aveline is not broke and has beer money for when she goes to college. And he's a great guy. He makes sure that you go through all your billing, you go through all your household expenses, you check things up. He helps you find ways to renegotiate bills if you have things like that, or just check in and make sure you're not overspending. You know, some of us have 5 and 6 extra streaming subscriptions that we don't need. Like, I think I have Fubo TV somewhere. I don't know about
Give me your password.
I don't actually. Joe helped me get rid of it. So please contact Joe at Attitude of Gratitude Consulting, and he will help you out. And let's just bring the website up real quick, just so the kids on the old internets get a hold of it.
Which is a good reminder, by the way. If you're listening to the show, we love you very much. We stream the show on Twitch, on YouTube, in our Facebook group, on Twitter, all over the place. And so this is where you can see Joe from Attitude of Gratitude Consulting's website. You can see his number where you can schedule a call with him. But the only problem with this is that you have to look at us as well for the better part of an hour. So if that's not your cup of tea, I get it. I understand. But check us out on those sources as well, guys.
Yeah. So that's Attitude of Gratitude. And I am going to, for the sake of Manchester United, be grateful that Adama Traore can't finish to save his fucking life, because United got super duper lucky against.
They did. Wolves should have
against Wolves.
So let's go more into the Wolves part first, and let's go back to United. Wolves should have beaten Spurs, and Traore is to blame for that as well. And they should have gotten at least a draw.
And the reason, right? Like,
no, if you
he got there.
If a running back in the NFL runs 85 yards and fumbles at the 2-yard line, is he a good running back, or did he fumble at the 2-yard line? Okay, so let's put it that. Let's put it that. No, he fumbled the ball, because what happened with Traore against Spurs, he put a shot out for a throw in. It did not go out for a corner. He didn't just miss the net. He missed the corner flag from the other side of the field. Okay. So his finishing is criminally poor. And for some reason, there is a subset of Spurs fans that are desperate to buy him for 40 million pounds today. And I'm not really sure what that's all about. We'll see by the time, this airs, if that has come to fruition or not. But the thing that makes me crazy is that we talk a lot about expected goals on the show. It's not everything.
Fourth in the league right now, I think.
It's okay. And we talked about it a lot that, a few weeks ago, that the fallacy of it, and it doesn't have context, and it's important to remember that. But Wolves have roughly, depending on what source you look at, 4.87 or just over 5 or whatever, roughly 5 expected goals and roughly 2+ expected goals against. There's no reason they should be 0-3. But was it Roman Saiz? One of the best saves you'll see all season from David De Gea this year.
Yeah.
That shit's gonna happen. But at the same time, it's a combination of being horrible finishers and unlucky. And you said it before we jumped on the show. The name that sticks out and is missing is Pedro Neto, right? And so he's gotten a setback.
Look at my friends at Wolves, plus 1.4 in the top 4.
Yeah.
In expected
That's
goals.
fifth. Yeah. And so
Mhm.
Neto had a setback. He broke his kneecap, which just sounds horrible.
It does sound
He was
bad.
supposed to be out till about Halloween. Now he's going to be out till about February.
Yeah, and
That could mean
he's the
as
good
much.
finisher who can run with Traore.
Exactly, but that could mean as much as the Jimenez injury did for Wolves last year. I worry about them.
Not quite yet.
Not quite, but Jimenez isn't himself this year either. At least last year you had full Neto. You don't have either right now, right? So that's the issue I find. But I don't get the Traore love. I've said it before. He reminds me of the 2006 U.S. men's national team with just all the athleticism in the world and no actual talent.
I get it. I think I disagree with you on this. The guy can run like the fucking wind.
Of course,
and he gets past people like crazy. I mean, he just has a super speed button. And I think if you can get somebody with him who's a good finisher, it can make a difference. And the reason why I bring this up is because Raheem Sterling is a better football player in all around play. But
definitely,
you have this similar problem with Raheem Sterling where he breaks through on goal. You're like, this is great. Thanks. You're going to miss.
Appreciate it,
right?
guys.
Right?
Could somebody come with him?
Yeah. Can you just get, and like, maybe it's better coaching. And he doesn't really, like, you see him finish his runs and he kind of doesn't really sneak around and get into the back post. So there's probably more to his game, but I think he's raw and he still hasn't learned. And he's in his mid-20s already.
That's what I mean.
I think he's super fun. And United again are the fucking luckiest team on the planet. I think again, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not a good coach. He basically waits for his $1 billion worth of talent to do something amazing. And again, it was Greenwood this time. And they're still in that space. I mean, Fred getting just torched by Traore just over and over again. Trincao, they just annihilated the midfield over and over again because when Matinho and Neves are playing, they're there. And I know you wanted to bring up the Neves kick in the leg for Ole on the Pogba challenge. There was a challenge that could have been a red in the build-up to the goal for Greenwood.
And we said it a few times so far this season. I'm a big proponent of how these games are being called, both from a just a normal officiating point of view, and the VAR. Right, everything. It's not eradicated, but it is a little more lenient. It's actually a lot more lenient. What that should end up meaning overall is A, less penalties, and B, less diving. That last part is probably going to take a few years to totally bed in and change the philosophy and the psychology of how players play the game. But nonetheless, it's good to see it encouraged.
Yeah.
But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last week against Southampton, I believe, Bruno Fernandes does one of these, I fell over, loses the ball, and off to the races goes Southampton. Che Adams scores off of a shit deflection, and it's in the back of the net 10 seconds later.
That was also Fred not covering for Che Adams.
Yes. Ole loses his mind as much as a polite little Norwegian lawn gnome can.
You mean a club ambassador who's in over his head and coaching the team?
Right. Yeah, that. So he goes off about it, and he wasn't the only one. Jurgen Klopp whined about it as well in the Liverpool-Burnley game, I believe.
Well, because Burnley really,
and that's just Burnley, by the way. Burnley hasn't changed shit. That's Burnley the last 10 years since Sean Dyche showed up. But I now it benefited Ole. And I didn't see much of the press conference, but I didn't hear anyone ask him about it. And I sure as shit would have. I would have loved to hear, man, that foul was awfully controversial. And the one last week was significantly less controversial. So where are you on that?
I'll give context. So it's a 50-50 challenge. Pogba is on the outside of the box, maybe 20 yards out. He has a bad touch. Neves is there. They both go for it. And Pogba clips Neves's ankle pretty hard to the point that his shin pad moves. You can see it. It shifts out. Neves takes 3 steps, looks at the ref, and goes down. That was why they didn't give it. Good. Had he gone down and yelled immediately, he would have got it.
Probably.
But he takes a step, looks at the ref, and goes, I can't believe you didn't call that, and then starts shouting. The play goes on, blah, 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 goal to whatever. When you see it in super duper slow-mo, it looks pretty bad.
But we
In
should
full
outlaw
speed,
super duper slow-mo.
I agree, but it never went to there was no check. There was nothing. Basically, who's the dickhead from the asshole ref that always gets talked about with the bald head?
Mike Dean?
It was Mike Dean, so it was classic Mike Dean. Made it look like it was a Mike Dean show. And, sure, they got frustrated, and they probably should have maybe had that goal not go, and they would have drawn 0-0. But this is on Wolves. They should have won that game. It shouldn't have been in that space. And we should talk about the big game of the day that involved more VAR controversy, but less controversial in this one. And it was Chelsea going to Liverpool in a 1-0. I mean, playing to a 1-0, a 1-1 draw, where Chelsea looked really, really good. They had the early chances. Mason Mount, also Lukaku. Havertz scores the goal early on a header that he flicks backwards. It's really cool. It's like a reverse dunk. For some reason, I think it's a reverse dunk because he's really far from goal. The corner comes in and he just flicks it back and it loops over Alisson's head. These teams are fighting each other. They're playing really hard. Chelsea are still resolute. Like, they are fucking good. Lukaku's good. Every ball sticks to him. He pushes it out wide. But this is a moment. I mean, it's still Anfield, and a cross comes in on a corner. Trent Alexander-Arnold. There's a crazy goal line scramble, like 2 or 3 different goal line scrambles. It's popping up in the air, and invariably Reece James is on the line. It hits off his shin, hits his arm when he's in the goal, and they clear it. They go to VAR. Madley, is it? No, the other bald one, who knows which ref it is.
Yeah.
They call the VAR for him to check. He goes and checks, but just looks at a still image of the ball hitting his arm. Penalty, red.
And so before we go any deeper, let's talk about philosophically. I know we've beaten, like we mentioned, we've beaten the shit out of that VAR horse, but what ideally would you have the ref look at in that situation? Because what you've go ahead, go.
So here's where I am with it, right? One thing is, it's really annoying that people don't know the rules. The rule is
they keep fucking changing them, in my defense.
Fair enough. This is not a handball rule. If you handle the ball in a clear goal scoring opportunity and you stop a goal from going in, it is a penalty and a red. Always.
Yep.
So once he gave the penalty, he had to give a red. The punters don't know this. They're like, oh, if it's because there's double jeopardy on a tackle. On a tackle, if it's a penalty, you're not sent off.
Mm-hmm.
So, but on a handball, you are. It used to be that there was double jeopardy. If you tackled someone on a clear goal scoring opportunity, then it was a red. It was a penalty and a red in the box. So they got rid of that. So you just get the penalty, but they got rid of the sending off, but not for handball. So that'll probably change again. If you handle a ball on the line to prevent the goal, it is a penalty and a red, no questions asked. Now, the thing that got frustrating for me was how people freaked out. We don't know what he heard. He may have said to the VAR, "Hey, I saw him move his hand, but I don't know if he touched the ball. All I need to know is if he touched it. If he touched it, it's a penalty." He goes to the screen. He sees the ball hit his arm. Penalty. Done. Yep. Right? So there's this whole notion that, he needs to watch the video run through. He saw it. He knows what he saw.
Yeah.
He just wanted to know if it hit his arm. Simple. And Reece James moved his arm toward the ball. Like, it hits his leg.
But you instinctually.
No. It's fine. But he had to go. So anyway, Mo Salah puts it away. It's 1-1. And Chelsea put in, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, DNA of a team. Chelsea, in their core, in who they are, and I don't know how this gets transmitted. It feels like magic. It feels like voodoo. I don't know how this happens, and it takes a long time to change it. Inside of who Chelsea is a defensive team of Chopper Harris, a famous player who's their all-time leading appearances player. Famous, he's called Chopper because he chopped people down and would play with blood dripping off his head. And that is the Chelsea ethos. Jose Mourinho fit in with Chelsea because he was a defensive coach. Sarri did not fit in with Chelsea. Not in the DNA, not the juice. Alex Villas-Boas, not a Chelsea manager. When they won the Champions League, they won it on defense. Defense, sitting behind the ball. That's who's inside Chelsea. And somehow Tuchel has picked this up, or he recognized that as the ethos as a team, or something about the water in the shed. I don't know. And I don't like that I'm wearing this Chelsea blue, actually. It's making me
That's a good point. Yeah.
But they are the best defensive team I've seen in a long time without great defenders, which is weird because Conte went off at the half. He got hurt. That's a big deal. But they saw out a rabid attacking Liverpool in the Kop end for 45 minutes.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, all they reduced Liverpool to was shots from far away. Incredible.
Yeah. And really, really so good. If you, knowing what you know at halftime, you see Conte come out, you know they're attacking the Kop.
I thought they were deep. I thought they're
toast. And that they were
not in a bad way, like they would have fought. But I think
but it's Liverpool at Anfield, and you figure something ridiculous is going to happen and go in the fucking
and nothing ridiculous happened. Nothing ridiculous happened. Although Van Dijk had a crazy shot that he shot from about 35 yards. But one of the things I thought about was, we gotta wrap this up.
Not yet.
My wife's looking for me. One of these things I thought about was how good Lukaku was, even in a defensive manner. He held the ball up when they needed to. He worked back when they needed to. It was really, really incredible to see a player at the top of his game.
Yeah, I get that.
That's my take on that one.
Let's go through the bets real quick, and let's talk about this. I got on the board a little bit this week. I actually did not score anything because I missed betting on two of these. I did correctly call West Ham Palace over 2.5. I did. Okay. So there is some controversy here, and I did get some questions about this from a few of our friends. And I didn't bet on the Xhaka yellow card plus 175, but what the actual terminology of that is, Xhaka or player to be booked, right? So a red card does count as being for the bet, essentially. Mm-hmm. So that's 2-0. And then I went, Mike, you missed on 2 wins. You really shouldn't bet on a Kane goal and a Spurs win. I ended up getting minus 120. So I went for it. And, the Spurs got the win, and Kane had a few opportunities late where he had a couple of sitters and he missed. And there was one great save, just didn't happen, wasn't in the cards. So my personal bank account was 0-1 this week, but I did go 2-1 on my calls. So I'll take that. That brings me back to even for the year. Yeah. And we roll on. So, I mean, we'll do some international prop shit on Thursday. We'll see. I'm not sure.
My record is poor, but I'm even money. My Rafinha to score at 250 did not go, but I did get an amazing draw for 2-2 Southampton versus Newcastle. Newcastle were awful in the first half. Genepo missed 2 over-the-bar shots. Southampton were incredible. They should have had the draw. Late in the game, it's 1-1. And my friend St. Maximin puts Newcastle up. He goes in the crowds. He does a karate kick. They've got the game in the bag. No, they don't. My friend Armstrong from our fantasy league draws the penalty versus Lascelles. They go to VAR. They call the penalty. And my guy, JWP, James Ward-Prowse, puts it away for the 2 plus 250 draw.
That's feeling alive right there.
Yes. And then Brighton just didn't show up. Everton are good. And Rafa Benitez has them pretty well oiled. Just not a great game. Injuries are hampering Brighton. They had Pascal Gross playing at wingback, and he got annihilated by Decore and the whole wing there. So I lost that one. There was one funny thing that happened in this game. Richarlison trying to steal a penalty from
that was weird.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but all the leaders on the team were like, "Get the fuck out of here! What are you?
Get out of here! He's such a dickhead." That was one of the few things I was able to catch this weekend in my travels. But yeah, I put it on. I was going to check out of my hotel and like, penalty to Everton. I was like, I'll hang around for a minute or two. And I got to watch that whole thing unfold. The commentator said it, which I didn't want Dominic Calvert-Lewin to miss, but I wanted him to miss for the story of
Yeah,
it being Richarlison's fault. I fucking hate Richarlison. But that was interesting. One other thing to look out for to today, I suppose, is Yves Bissouma is rumored. He's one of the names.
Not. Do not
he's one of the names.
From it. No. He goes nowhere.
Liverpool.
No.
Liverpool and Spurs have been coming in for Bissouma. I don't think
so fucking good.
He is good. I don't think either will get it over the line.
So if anyone doesn't know, Yves Bissouma is the central midfielder for Brighton. He's their Patrick Vieira, for lack of a better word.
Okay, all right. He's good, but let's not get ridiculous.
Their Patrick. He's a shit Patrick Vieira.
He's just a very shit Patrick Vieira. But yes, he's a good player nonetheless. He would be a great addition. He would be everything they thought Thiago would be at Liverpool. And he's just another...
He's kind of Wijnaldum-ishy.
Wijnaldum-ishy. I would agree with that. Very Wijnaldum-ishy. And Spurs would love to have him, but I don't see him coming in without Ndombele leaving, and that seems unlikely at this stage. So unlikely, but I did want to give you that scare. Is there any other transfer stuff that you're excited about or looking forward to?
No, my transfer is I have to transfer my daughter into her bed, so I've got to wrap this thing up.
All right, let's get out of here then.
I want to give one shout out to Gallagher from Crystal Palace, who's incredible, all energy,
2 goals.
Hair. Another one of Our Lady Marina Gradaskaya's transfer army. Incredible game. They pulled one out off West Ham. Also a really good game. Lots of good games. But I am going to wrap it up before I get yelled at. That was the Squeaky Bum Time Podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing for the people who don't know. Apparently don't know that Chop Sports Network has a football wing, and that's us. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you are listening on Apple, be careful for the Luftwaffe, because I almost forgot to mention World War II. And please review the show so we can reach out to more people and love the show with us, because we're having fun all the time. Oh, and our friends at FanHub, thank you so much. We'll get you into the show next time. Mike, I have to show you how to do a prediction game that comes into FanHub. We won't forget them. It's good stuff.
We'll get them involved.
Right. That's it.